Okay. All right.
Okay.
Welcome. We are live, ladies. Woohoo.
Yay!
All right.
Hello, internets.
Yay. All right. So, welcome, everyone. Our one viewer. You are welcome. This is Sideeye in the City, and it is myself. My name is Tamika, and two of the smartest women I know in the world, Sunny. Say hi, Sunny. Can you hear us?
Hello.
And Sydney.
Hello.
Okay. All right, now I'm getting a lot of feedback on my... You guys getting a delay?
I am, yeah.
Okay, hold on. Hence...
Oh, you know why I think that is? Because I have it open in my... I had it open in one of my tabs.
Okay.
Sorry, I closed it now. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm not sure what's going on, so I'm just going to keep talking.
All right.
Don't
have the YouTube streaming up. Don't have it open in any of your tabs. That'll help with the delay.
Oh, ooh. Yeah. You know what? That might be it. That might be what's going on.
Yeah.
That was it. Okay. Let me close Facebook. All right. Oh, okay, that took care of it. Awesome. Okay, so hence the title of this episode, Technical Difficulties. But this is the inaugural launch of a new podcast called Sideeye in the City. And essentially we're just three smart, opinionated chicks talking about stuff that deserves a little side-eye sometimes. But basically just talking about subjects that are close to us, that mean a lot to us, and see if we can kind of, raise the level of discourse. Is that a fair description, ladies?
I would say so. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. I think my goal for the podcast is for it to kind of be sort of a friendly space for women of color, to just kind of talk about things that are important to us and things that, make us think, make us laugh, make us sad, injustices that need to be discussed. So we'll be talking a lot about representations of women in the media, the things that are going on around the country and in Ferguson and in Missouri right now, so issues of injustice and bias, to things that are happening on television, to, okay, I might scare some people, to Scandal and Shondaland. So I'm going to go ahead and kick off this inaugural episode and start the conversation. Oh wait, I have a timer so we don't run over too much. I'll go ahead and get that started. You know what? That's blocking up my screen. Bear with me one sec, Internet. Talk amongst yourselves while I just get my timer started.
Well, while she does that, I just want to make sure everyone knows with 2015 coming up, be positive, start thinking of what you want. Think of things that you can encourage someone else with, and mainly just focus on bettering yourself from 2014. Because with all that's been going on, we need a little sunshine out there.
That's true.
I agree. All right, so I got us started, and I'm going to kick us off with the Sony hack. So you all may have heard recently going on in the, I guess, popular culture and popular media, that Sony was hacked by, I don't know, have we established that it was North Korea? Or
yeah, they said there was some lines of code used during the hacking and the viruses that only North Korea uses. And then I read this article about the training schools they send North Korean hackers to, and how it's like a 9-year program, and they only take like 4 people out of 5,000 every year who apply.
Really?
It might be 20 people every year who apply out of 5,000. And even though they're well aware of what the rest of the world is doing because they have access to the actual internet, they won't leave North Korea. So they're like the best hackers on the planet, which is kind of crazy considering it's North Korea.
Wow, so they're like hacker school.
Yeah, they have hacker school. They have hacker school. So if you want to defect and go to North Korea to become a great hacker, I'm sure.
Careers. Now I know where
I'm sure they might be willing to talk about something. I mean, you won't be able to bust in rocks.
Right. Well, cool. Okay. Well, so North Korea hacked Sony because they were angry about this new movie. What is it? The Interview.
Yeah.
Which honestly,
were they really that angry?
Look very good to me.
Were they really that angry?
Have you guys seen the movie? Like how? Like.
No, but I heard it's your standard Seth Rogen kind of film. It just brings pure comedy, and the reality of it is, from what I've gathered, I don't want to be a spoiler, but what they intended didn't happen the way they intended it to happen. So it's one of those situations where it's just the typical satire that Seth Rogen and Franco are known for, like for most of their movies. But I can't understand why people would be pissed. I mean, I get it. Like if they did something about that about Obama, people would be upset.
Well, it kind of just looks like a stoner comedy. Like, what was that other one?
Pineapple Express?
Pineapple Express.
Yeah, in North Korea.
There you go.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me. Like, is that it?
I think if they were going to boycott a movie, they might have picked like American Sniper.
Right.
Like a movie that would have been really worth boycotting if that had to do with like American propaganda. Not saying, full disclosure, I've not seen American Sniper, only seen the previews. I actually kind of want to see it. But if you think about like ideals being portrayed in cinema, that's probably one that's a bit more very pro-American, very our enemies are bad people, we're good people. As opposed to a comedy, a satire, maybe not a very good one, because I'm actually kind of tired of seeing white guys in satires.
We're gonna cover that.
I just feel like, if it's supposed to be comedy, it's supposed to be funny. Y'all don't have comedy where you live. I mean, nobody's laughing in North Korea, really.
Well, supposedly they like murder Kim Jong-un, and that's what got him all
intense. Yeah.
Hey, Kim Jong, you my dude, so don't come after me. I'm just talking. just in case you
Right, we ain't got no money. Don't try to like kidnap us and hold us hostage. Ain't nobody gonna come save us.
Right.
Just voicing an opinion.
Okay, so basically, like in protest to that silly movie, this hacker group hacked Sony and basically exposed a bunch of private emails and basically just a lot of information that Sony wouldn't want to get out.
Right.
One of the things that they exposed is that Hollywood has a diversity problem. Now, I'm sure this is...
Wait, they just not figuring this out?
Right, exactly. Well, now we have proof. We have proof. We have emails going back and forth between the executives, making fun of President Obama, calling different black celebrities really bad names that I won't repeat, but they're pretty bad. And just like I think we've finally shown light on a real problem that, well, most brown people already knew exists, but now I think kind of the world is seeing that. So I'm going to kick the discussion off with that. So what do you all, first of all, because I don't want to make assumptions, do you all think that Hollywood has a diversity problem?
I was just talking about this with some friends, actually, before this. I saw some friends I hadn't seen, like, since the summer, and one who I hadn't seen since last Thanksgiving. Whoa, what was that? Sorry. I don't know what that was.
No, yeah, I know. I'm blinking, too.
Yeah, what was that?
Kim Jong. Oh, no, it's Kim Jong. It's Kim Jong. You got That's it. I don't know y'all, but I don't know y'all.
I don't know y'all. So willing to throw people under the bus. Anyway, I was talking about this with some friends, so I haven't seen in a while, and about the representation of colored people in media. Just black, brown, Asian, anybody not white, or any culture that might look white but not have good representation. And how really the image of peoples of color have, before the Cosby Show was controlled by white males. So it was really just a caricature of what they thought black or brown people or Asian people acted like. Not necessarily a true representation, just what they thought people acted like. So, and then, like how we don't really talk about race in America because it's uncomfortable and we don't want to get into slavery, and then talk about how, like, slavery has really affected us and how a lot of people feel that black people are lazy and that's why they're in poverty. Like, what's wrong with you? Why can't you just do what I do?
Right,
But
Rose, what's wrong with you?
right? Summing all that up, just to say that there's a lot of people who think that the image of black people is one thing outside of what black people actually is, and how we don't really get to control that. And when we make statements like, well, we're not really controlling our image, or why is it that you only have half a dozen or a dozen black people when you have hundreds of white actors, and then all of a sudden we're playing the race card. In actuality, black people never play the race card. White people bring it up all the time.
Yeah, I don't think black people have the race card. Like, I don't believe that's a card that's in our possession. We don't. That's not something we control.
Right. Yeah, because we don't really control our image in media. And when we do, it's such a small percentage. I mean, outside of Shonda and Shondaland and Scandal and How to Get Away with Murder and Grey's Anatomy. Does she produce Grey's Anatomy? I don't watch Grey's Anatomy, so I don't really know.
That was,
yeah. And even that show, the only black person on that, there's only two characters on there that were black, and then they got rid of Isaiah Washington, so there's only one character who's black. Unless she added one this season, which, full disclosure, I don't watch Grey's Anatomy.
I haven't watched that in a while.
Yeah, outside of her, and thinking of the four big broadcast companies, I can't think of any other producers who are black. You know?
Exactly. And therein lies part of the problem, which is why I brought up this topic of diversity. And this is going to be kind of one of my pet topics, just because I like looking at media. And so, like, what do you, like, I guess my first, actually, I'm sorry, Sunny, do you want to weigh in?
I was going to interject and say, it's pretty much a money game if you really think about it. What makes money in the black community is going to be things that really, show us in a very negative light. And so they'll put money behind that. If you look at Bravo, VH1, if you look at all these different stations that just have that black woman, the idea of what they think of us, those things do very well because it's in a negative light. But if you look at it from a perspective of Hollywood is... It's still a white man's game, and unless people step up, like Chris Rock with Top 5, I think that was, to me, an awesome movie, but it was also him stepping out there and making and creating something. I'm not a big fan of Tyler Perry, but the reality of it is he does bring that light, but still and yet, I'm not a fan for, certain reasons, but the reality of it is we don't have any media that showcases us in a better light and shows our diversity and our gifts and our crafts, because we're not creating a lot of things, and that's because of a money game. We can't do it because it's financially it's a challenge, but then reality, they're looking at the end result of how we're going to make money. Even if you look at the interview, even though they were against it, it's still doing very well. So what was it, $1 million on the first day on Christmas? So I think it's one of those situations. I've even heard Chris Rock talk about diversity in Hollywood. It's a challenge, but the reality of it is people have to be creators. And a lot of African Americans aren't creators. So most of them want to be actors and actresses and stuff, but nobody wants to sit back and do the back end of the work to create these things, to get those things pitched. I'm not saying that they're not out there, but the reality of it is they're very far and few between. And so sometimes you can't just look at it and say, oh, well, they don't have a part for Angela Bassett or someone like that. But you see Angela Bassett's now creating, if you look at the Lifetime movie, which is probably going to catch a little hell here.
But right, but why... Well, I mean, but why does it have to be like? I guess that brings up two questions. Is number one, is representation enough? Is just seeing black faces on screen and having black faces behind the scenes, is that enough? Number one, because I guess if you do take into account cable networks and the reality shows, there is a lot of representation of black characters, but they are not the best representations, if you ask me.
Right. But so, it's a money game.
I mean, there is a presence there.
But it's all about the money game. Like, I think Annie coming out, like, you know, you told me you saw that. To me, that's a step up. And I said we have to take those and take them in stride and say that's a win. But the reality of it is, we still got a long way to go. And it's a money game.
But is it a win? Like, because it kind of brings me to mind, I was talking about this earlier, the movie The Best Man Holiday, which was marketed as a black movie. Having seen the movie, it is a movie starring black actors, but it's a movie about friendship. You know, in any other, if those actors weren't black, it would have been called, you know, a holiday classic or a romantic comedy. It wouldn't have been a black movie.
Actually, so, I feel like just as many white people went to see that, or people who are not black went to see it as black people.
Exactly.
But it also comes down to the reality of it. Until they can get over the fact to say Obama is not just a black president, but just a president, we're still going to have issues in every sector that black people are a part of.
Yeah, I think that part of it has to do with the fact that we don't really talk about race in America.
We don't have healthy conversations about it.
We don't.
We just have one-sided conversations. And I talk to all of my minority friends and say, let's have the conversation. Because at the end of the day, it's uncomfortable, but you can understand why they think of certain ways. That's why I love Fox News. People think I'm crazy. But
yeah, you are crazy.
I love Fox News. I'm kind of hurt right now. But I thought I was going to wait for next week.
I want you to see how the other side thinks. So.
I don't honestly think that's how the other side thinks. I think what they do is make sensationalism in order to sell ads to make money.
I get it. And it's shock value. I get that.
Well,
but I also do believe there are people out there who think like that.
I don't think there are as many people who think like that as they think. I think there are a lot of people who watch it, which is probably a small population, who watch it and believe it's the truth. And there are more people who watch it for the sensationalism. Or it's so. In one of the classes I took in grad school, we talked about we talked about people whose voices get heard, and it's never the people in the moderate. It's never the people in the middle. It's always the people on the outsides who are screaming and yelling and get the attention, and that's because they're the extremes. So you have the extreme liberals and you have the extreme conservatives, and those are the people whose voices you hear. You never hear the moderates, one, because they're not going to stand up and scream, and two, because the extremists are getting all the attention. And even if they were going to get up on the stage and say something, they're not going to scream and yell and force their opinion down your throat, so people are going to stop listening. And I honestly don't believe there are that many people who are extremists in America, either side. I just feel like those are the only people whose voices are being heard at the moment because the moderates don't speak up.
That's true. That's very true. That's a very.
And I agree. And I also think it's how you're raised and where you're from. I'm a true believer of that because you can sit in front of people and they say they're not racist, but if you sit back and listen to what they say to their friends, you'll find out that they don't think it's racist, but me being black, I would be offended. And the reality of it is, I mean, we're all surprised, but again, I'm still a fan of the network, and I feel like it just opens up a different dialogue. I mean, I'm not saying it's right, but I'm just saying it just opens up more of a conversation.
Okay, I can see that. I would give you credit there, and I'm now feel bad for saying you're crazy.
Just give it a try. I like giving Sean Hannity when I drive. I like to hear him rant and rave. Don't agree with it, but I like to just get that conversation going. Like if I listen to CNN, they're thinking and talking about the same things that I believe in. I want to hear something else. I want to know, you know, maybe if I.
At the same time, I feel like maybe CNN is almost doing the same thing that Fox News is doing, but on the other end of the spectrum.
Oh, they're horrible.
Yeah,
but
since CNN got a new CEO or a new like person in charge, they've become a lot more sensational and a lot more Fox Newsy to me. Like I've lost a lot of esteem for CNN over the last
they
few
lost
months.
me a long time
Yeah,
ago.
I
really-
stopped watching any kind of cable news with the exception of like the BBC and Al Jazeera and like my local news just to get what's going on in my neighborhood. Because I feel like so much of it is about selling me something and not about telling me the facts of what's going on. And I don't even mind if it's slightly biased. You're going to tell me a story, and you're going to tell me a story from your opinion, which is fine. But when you start to skew the facts to make your story sound better, then I feel like you're no longer news, and you should be like, this is a soap opera. This is not news.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me just go ahead. I'm going to throw in one last media topic, and then I had a little game that we could maybe play, if we come back to the end, if we have a little bit of time at the end of the show. But I want to talk about my boyfriend, Idris Elba. Oh yeah, girl. We've been together a while.
Go way back.
My boyfriend.
He likes them thick.
We go way back.
He likes them thick, so
Hey, about Idris Elba possibly being the next James Bond, and about some folks who say he can't be because he is black. One of your people, Sonny.
Yeah, your people.
I know. I read some today. Yes, I know.
I'm gonna stop messing with you. No, but Sir Limbaugh, on his radio program, came out with the statement that Idris Elba can't be the new James Bond, and he said this because he's black. And James Bond is Scottish and white, and he always has been, and he should be, and that's just how it is. So what do you all think about that? I'm going to kick it off with somebody. Go ahead and take it. Anybody.
Well, I'm going to jump on in. Okay, so Trish just says stupid stuff just to get a little attention. We all know that. But I think that...
Of course, duh. Yeah.
I'm not the biggest fan of Idris, but I applaud him. But if he doesn't do the accent, I'm not going to watch it. But I think I think it's overdue. I think it's way overdue for him, and especially because he has an accent, he has the look. I think he's appealing for, just the times now. And I think he would be awesome at it. I think he would get the criticism, but the reality of it is, I mean, every James Bond they have the pros and the cons of them. So I think he will do an awesome job. I am curious to know, how that one would fare and as far as numbers, as far as the box offices and whatnot. But I think he'll do good. I think he's that type of person. He has that character, and if he has the accent, I'll go pay my dollars. If he does not have the accent, I'll catch it on Netflix. So
wow.
That's my 2 cents on that one.
Not say a word.
Okay, as a longtime James Bond fan, have been since Sean Connery, since Dr. No, I'll take it all the way back to the first one. Having seen all except for maybe one, and that was the one where the George something, he played the Bond the one time, and the whole movie you're watching it talking about who's James Bond. And knowing that traditionally James Bond is British, he can be Scottish or English, but or North Ireland. Who?
According to Mr. Limbaugh, the expert in all things.
Yeah, the expert. Anyway, he's British, not just Scottish. Because for the most part, most of them have been English. But
exactly, yeah.
But okay,
actually,
but anyway,
the only Scottish one was Sean Connery.
I know. Traditionally white, but having talked about James Bond a lot over the years, because like I said, I'm a huge nerd and a big fan, that the only real criteria for James Bond needed to be that he was British and he was a secret agent. Knowing that, and having talked about who would be the best one after Pierce Brosnan, because for a long time my dad thought that Tom Cruise should have played James Bond, and I argued. Most actors are really short, but arguing with my father that he could never play James Bond because he's not British. They actually settled on the fact that the guy who played second in command during Brosnan's, he's a black actor. He was on that show Chef. We were like, that guy should play Bond. He'd be a great Bond. So when what's his name? He plays Bond now. Craig David. No, not Craig David. What's his name? Daniel Craig. Thank you, Daniel Craig. When he started, we were like, well, shoot, they should have got Idris Elba. For a long time, I thought Idris Elba.
Yeah.
For a long time, I thought Idris Elba would be a great Bond. And I mean, I'm not mad that Daniel Craig was Bond. I mean, he's pretty good Bond. That one where he did like the parkour at the beginning, was jumping off the cranes. That junk was amazing. But I feel like, and people feel free to disagree with me, I feel like Idris Elba has such a better depth when it comes to acting, and I like this new trend in hiring real actors to play the leads in action films, because then I think it makes just the movie a better movie, and that you get a depth of character. You get more of an idea of this character being more than just one-dimensional. That I really feel like Idris would be an amazing Bond. And it's past due. He should have been Bond. He should have been. Okay. I love that. What's her name was Moneypenny in the last one. I love that. I think we lost Tamika.
Oh, I'm here. Can you see?
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, I couldn't hear you for a minute, but anyway, go ahead. That's my 2 cents about Bond. That Idris Elba would be amazing because he's a really great actor. He's extremely good looking. He's British, and he already does action stuff. Okay. So I feel like he'd be amazing.
Well, I mean, I'm not like an expert on James Bond, but as far as I can tell, the only I shouldn't say the only qualifications. The chief qualifications is that the actor is handsome and charming. So that's Idris. Like, I don't understand. But I think that Mr. Limbaugh, to mention that name again for the 100th time, like his point was that he cannot be a black James Bond. No.
Oh, and another thing that I failed to bring this up before, and I'm so sorry for stepping on top of you. That we discovered, me and my dad discovered a long time ago that James Bond is just like a key name. You know how 007 is a signed number? The James Bond is just a name for an agent. It's not a specific agent. It's whoever has that particular assignment is like the number one agent that they have. So James Bond, the reason why he can keep changing is because when you get assigned that particular thing, like kind of like Jack Ryan, I would guess would be America's equivalent, and why the person can keep changing, but the story can continue to go on, is because it's not that person's birth name, it's that person's spy name. And in fact, this is kind of backed up by the fact of the last James Bond. If you go back and you watch the very last one, which was amazing, mainly because I love the Scottish Highlands, if you go back and you watch it, and it talks about his upbringing, Daniel Craig's Bond, that was not his birth name. Bond was not his birth name. It was a different name, but that was the name he was given when he got into MI6. MI5? MI6. Anyway. So that's just an agent. It's just a name for that particular agent, not that person's birth name. So it can be anybody.
Okay. Well, see, take that, Mr. Limbaugh. He's wrong. All right. Well, I'm going to move us on to the next topic, and this one was Sonny's. So, Sonny, you want to kick us off about 2015 and your...
I do. Like, this year of 2014 to me has been an up and down kind of year for me personally, and I think just for everyone generally, for people who are African American. It saddened me to see a lot of the things that we've seen on the news lately and how it's played out, and I think this is a year of 2015 that I think people need to figure out our solutions to whether it's not just protest, but what are we going to do after the fact? And the reality of it is we don't have leaders that are going to lead us the way we probably want them to. So I think it's now time for us to be individuals and figure out what are we as individuals going to do to step out there and do something to uplift. But I also feel that sometimes you got to start at home and figure out what do you want for 2015 for yourself, but also for your community. And the one thing I've been very passionate about, and this is something I've been wanting to do for many moons and never had the opportunity to until this year, was just kind of like start a vision board. And the reason for that is sometimes when you have goals and you set those goals, you set them in stone, you put them up there, they are constant reminders for you to work towards that. I think that this year may be the year that we all kind of look at what do we want to do to better ourselves and better our communities and our situations and circumstances for other people. So I'm sending out a challenge to everyone. Build your vision board for 2015 before the beginning of the year. We have a few days, and there's so much that we can improve on personally, but also we can improve on within our community. So my challenge would be to that, and kind of like get us recharged for 2015, get our spirits up, let some of that negativity go, and find our happiness in 2015. So that's my challenge to everyone, and I hope that it's something that everyone takes into consideration as they prepare for 2015.
Okay. Sydney, what do you plan to do to make 2015 better than 2014 for yourself and the world? Fix all
For
of our
myself
problems.
and the world. Or for the world, I plan to take over and become world leader. No, I don't
like
plan
that.
to do that.
Pinky and the brain.
I like that, though.
I wish I was Brain from Pinky and the Brain. But world leader seems like it would really cut into my Twitter and Facebook and Xbox time, so no. And I do like to read books, and I wouldn't ever get to do that if I was world leader. So,
yeah.
But on a serious note, I did have a conversation today on Facebook with a friend. She posted a graphic that talked about the black church and how the black church brings in $300 million a month, and how is the black church bettering the black community with that kind of money? And there was a whole conversation that talked about it, but what ended up being the outcome between me and these people I was talking to was that we should really become financially literate to help our community. And not just us, like 6 individuals that are in the conversations, but us as a community. Because when we look at what's in the black community, the businesses, the money, the people, how many of us own the businesses that black people use? How many of us, what types of businesses are in the community? And then how many of us have any kind of financial plan that's longer than a month? And it's not a whole lot of people, I would say. I would say middle-class black people, which is not a whole lot of black people, probably have a financial plan that's longer than 5 years. And even then, what does that plan look like, and how are you helping those around you get there? I think there's a big aversion to talking about the money that we have coming in, as if somehow if you know what I make and you know how I spend it, that somehow is going to give you something over me. And truthfully, I don't think there's anything wrong with you being able to budget your funds as an adult and get what it is you want. I mean, you also have to look at what it is you want. And if that is possible with where you are financially. And if it isn't, what are you going to do to make that up? Are you going to stop wanting certain things, or are you going to make more money? And we don't really talk about that in our community as black people, and I don't really know why. I don't know what the aversion is. So I feel like that's one thing I'm going to do. And also health-wise, we don't like to go to the doctor. We don't like to talk about our health. We don't really like to talk about our choices and how our choices have gotten us to where we are. And speaking as a woman of some size, and really only in the last 2 years doing anything to help my health, that I have to make better choices health-wise. And I do eat pretty okay. I mean, I eat more vegetables than I do carbs, and I eat a lot of lean protein, but going to the gym and working out, and then seeking the professional help of those who have the knowledge I don't have to figure out how to get from where I am to where I want to be. So making that commitment, and financially if I have to, making that commitment to being in the gym 5 to 6 days a week and eating better, and encouraging those around me who are also making those choices.
Okay.
So that's what I'm doing in the world to make it a better place, is just trying to live longer.
I like that. I do.
Amen.
Yeah, I'm going to have to steal that one. 2014 was actually kind of a pretty rough year for me. I lost someone to cancer who meant the world to me. very important to me. So for one, I am kind of happy to see 2014 go. But yes, it also taught me to really take more time to take care of myself and be more deliberate and specific about that. So I am kind of recommitting to that too. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that I have a perfect diet because I totally just finished eating a cheeseburger at the movies and it was delicious. But, but I definitely have plans to be more conscious in my health decisions as well and be more specific and deliberate regarding my health and just to take it more seriously because really bad things can happen to really good people really fast. And I learned that this year the hard way. And I lost somebody that meant the world to me that should still be here right now. So, yeah, my heart's breaking still about that. So that's my plan for myself to get my health on track. As far as to help the world, well, one of the things I'd love to do is to use this podcast really as a forum for women of color, just in kind of being a little bit media obsessed and just kind of observing what's out there. I wasn't really finding my voice and voices like mine. So that was the impetus for this podcast. I think that there needs to be a forum for smart, progressive women of color to be smart, progressive women of color. And so that, here we are, Sideeye in the city. And also, I'd love to use this as a forum to spotlight good things going on in our community. I think that, we kind of touched on it earlier with the whole advent of reality television and, certain types of narratives get out in the mainstream that aren't very diverse and don't always paint us in the most flattering light, or maybe flattering isn't the right word, but that don't really look very well for us. And I just kind of want to present an alternative vision of that. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Where we're not basketball wives. Not that there's anything wrong with being a basketball wife, but
yes,
that's. Well, I don't disagree, but I don't want to alienate people. Like we're a welcoming space. So if there are basketball wives, watching, do better.
Because Central has the problem, but we don't.
But I want this podcast to be, sort of an alternative to that. Some place that's not drama and backbiting and pettiness, a place for thought and reason and conversation and, challenging our ideas and challenging ourselves. So one of the things I'd really like to do is sort of use this podcast to highlight people in our community doing good things. And so one of the things that's coming to me, this, touched me today, was that there were actually five African American Rhodes Scholars this year, and that is awesome. Yeah,
it is awesome.
Yes, 5 of them. So I'm just going to read their names very briefly. Robert Fisher from the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. Rachel V. Harmon, a senior at Cornell University. Okay, I'm sorry if I say this wrong. Ridwan E. Hassan, I think I said that right, a senior at Dartmouth. Teos A. Sanders II, who is a senior at the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire. And Sarah E. Urema, who is a senior at Princeton. So just want to take, a few seconds to, applaud these awesome young sisters doing something amazing, and I'm so proud of them. As an educator, they're the pinnacle, they're the best of the best, and congratulations to them. So there you have it. That is
I applaud.
Awesome.
Yeah, that means that they probably went on to get PhDs, which I was going to do, but then when I looked into it, I was like, nope. So, yeah, good on y'all.
I'm trying. I'm there, so I feel you.
I mean, I was.
At the exact same crossroads.
And I was like, no, I can't. I just can't. So, yeah, I did want to try and be a Rhodes Scholar, but they did it. They actually did it.
Yes, they did. Yes. Yes, 2 young men, or 3 young men and 2 young women. So shouts out, hats off, congratulations. Very, very well done, young people. Very awesome. So that is my hopefully productive contribution to making 2015 better. And I'll be doing that a lot, just shouting out people doing extraordinary things, brown people doing extraordinary things, because unfortunately we don't get to see that as much as we should. So
Yes.
Very true. There's not a lot of people bringing light to it. I mean,
right,
it's happening.
exactly.
There's not a lot of voices saying that.
Exactly. So hopefully I can be one of those voices. So good job, young folks. I'm looking forward to the brilliance that they will bring to the world, and maybe one day they can give me a job.
Right? I mean, we're smart.
Right, exactly.
Why wouldn't you want to hire smart people?
I mean, they're smarter than me, but still, that's okay. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I don't know if they're smarter than you. They're just more dedicated.
Well, yeah, maybe that. Maybe that. Awesome. Okay, well, Sydney, I'm going to roll over to your topic.
Mm-hmm.
And you had some thoughts about, oh, this is a sad one, about Mr. Martin and the latest, well, I'll let you take it.
So full disclosure, I don't know everything behind the case. I haven't read like any police reports or spoke to any particular legal individuals. But on Christmas Eve, I'm not sure where this took place either. I want to say somewhere in the Northeast.
It was in Missouri, not far from Burbank or something, Missouri.
Okay.
Not far from St. Louis, in St. Louis County anyway.
In St. Louis County, okay. Antonio Martin was a young man who was walking with his mother and his sister, I believe. He was mistaken for another suspect, and through an altercation, he was shot by the police. And the police officer who shot him didn't call an ambulance right away. In fact, the first person he called was crowd control. And his mother and his sister, Antonio Martin, his mother and sister were nearby, but the police wouldn't allow them to comfort him. And Antonio ended up passing away due to the actions of the police officer, unfortunately. And when I first read about this, it was Christmas Eve, and I was like, I don't want to be mad on Christmas, so I can't just process all this information. I'm going to put it in my pocket and think about it later. So what I understand is a lot of conversations have been going on about it online. One particular individual who worked for, oh my gosh, he's a county coroner. I can't remember where he's a coroner. Anyway, he said it's like administrative homicide on top of the actual shooting. And so somebody was like, all snarky, where's your medical license? So he posted a picture of his medical license. And he works in New York. It says regional emergency medical committee or something. He's a licensed paramedic, a licensed medical professional. And it's like, you shouldn't challenge people unless you know where they're coming from. If they're saying that kind of thing, and I mean that's okay too, because people say a lot of things, especially on social media, because they can hide behind a keyboard, they can hide behind a monitor. But when they back it up, then it's time that you actually start to listen to them, because it's not like we're over here saying this is some stuff that's happening and it's all in our head. I know that happens a lot, where people are like, oh, you're just making this up, or you're just perceiving this wrong. It's like, no, when so many people of color are being, I would say, though strongly, attacked, I think that's probably like an aggressive word, attacked by police based on simple assumptions, you have to start looking at it as if this is not just happening in a bubble anymore. This is not just a thing we are perceiving. This is an actual reality. So you have to stop assuming that we're saying these things are happening, and start believing that they're actually happening, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. That totally makes sense.
Yeah, and on top of that, I saw a YouTube commercial
Okay.
where these black parents were talking to their black sons, so probably late teens, early 20s, and they were admonishing them against aggressive action towards police. Like, the police officer comes up to you, you do whatever they say. If they say get on the ground, you get on the ground. The most important thing is that you come home. And then the very last little vignette was of a white parent speaking to his son, and he said to the son, if you get in any trouble, just call the police because they're there to help. And then it it faded to white. I guess you don't really fade to white. Transitioned to white, and it said, do you want to live in two separate Americas? Yeah. And the truth is that we do. Well, we live in more than just two separate Americas. But the reality is that is a reality for every black male. Both of my brothers have both been pulled over simply because they fit the profile, not because they were doing anything wrong.
Yeah, I would go even further to say that it applies to every black person, well, every brown person anyway. I don't know if you all knew, but I lived in Phoenix a few years ago, and in 2010 they basically passed a law saying that it's okay to profile. And the whole reason for the law was supposedly it was because of undocumented workers and how they're, taking all the jobs and running over the city and yada, yada, yada. The immigrants are here. And so, essentially, before, if a person was pulled over, there had to be a reason, a tail light was out or something, some reason. Well, this law actually made it legal and perfectly fine for a police officer to pull over a person if he suspected them of being undocumented. So how do you suspect a person of being undocumented without profiling them? How does that even work?
That doesn't work.
Exactly. So it's basically stop and frisk for Mexican people, which is so many different types of wrong. But that is I think that's just, it's a statement on how we live. It's and I don't even know where to begin to change this, because it's everywhere. I don't know. I can't. I find I can't even talk about this subject anymore because it's just so frustrating. Because there's always going to be one person that's gonna, this isn't a black thing, and okay, well, it's a people of color thing. Well, no, it's about, you do what the police say and blah blah blah. And I'm not advocating getting into hassles with the police. That would be silly. But I'd like to know how we got to the point that, number one, it's okay and completely socially fire groups of people based solely on race. And number two, how we got to the point where anything less than complete submission and complete capitulation is somehow seen as aggression and resisting arrest. I mean, honestly, if you're harassing a person and that person responds with frustration, somehow that becomes a license to kill that person. How do we get there? What is that? It boggles the mind. I don't understand how we got to where.
Yeah, I was talking with my dad and jokingly saying that in America, if you break the law and you're black, the punishment is death. Apparently, it doesn't matter what the law is. Exactly. I don't have any qualms with the police running down Michael Brown to arrest him, or even trying to arrest Eric Gardner. For breaking the law, that's fine. Criminals who break the law should be arrested or should be approached by the police to be ticketed or whatever. My issue is that instead of actually processing them to give them a fair trial or have them go through the system of being sentenced as a criminal, their sentence seems to be death. That seems to be the only option for breaking the law in America if you're black, is that you lose your life.
Right.
Which is crazy.
Exactly.
Because that's not the sentence being given to other people who are breaking the law.
Right. And then on top of that, as if being sentenced to death on the spot isn't enough, but then this concerted effort to demonize the dead, it breaks my heart. Some of the stories about Eric Gardner and about Michael Brown are about, how he was a thug and he may have stolen the cigarettes, which honestly, I'm still not even sure that he's shoplifted the stupid cigarettes, but whatever. But why? He's dead. He's dead. Yeah. So he's been punished. Why do we have to demonize a dead child? Why do we have to demonize a man who was literally choked to death on the street? You would show more compassion to an animal than you show to this.
Oh my gosh.
Do.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, and that's what kills me. The man, okay, dogs. Don't get me wrong. I love dogs, and I feel like he broke the law, so he should have gone to jail. But there are people who have not seen the inside of a jail, let alone prison, for taking human lives in this country.
Exactly. That's so funny. Go ahead.
I'm going to say, you know, this 2014 has, and I'll say even before then, I'm not seeing where we have progressed. And it's sad because if you look at the 60s and how things were then, we're still kind of living that. I think the only difference is their social media. That's the only difference. Because if you look at Mississippi and other southern states, they've been going through worse. Like, there have been people lynched, and this is like, we'll say recent day, people in Texas, you know. So this is something that
actually,
it's nothing different from the 60s. The only difference is we have social media. And what's so scary about this day and age and this generation of youth is how they're handling it. That retaliation thing is not going to work with the police. And I think also educating your children, it's never going to be enough. Because, like you said, there's people in prison right now who never did anything but are accused of crimes. And now they're pardoning them after so many years later. But they lost their lives. So the reality of it is, being a minority in America is still a challenge because we don't know how, and we don't know who really has our back, who supports us. And this is something that is going to just continuously go on until we get strong politics. I mean, until we get laws that will protect us, like really true civil rights laws. We're just still going to have these struggles. And then I also think this generation needs to understand what they're living so they can do better and be better. I'm not talking about the ones who are past, but those that want to act tough, they need to know you cannot do those things. You know what I'm saying? And I'm excited to see this movie, Selma, because I always feel it's important to be reminded. Because I'm not going to lie to you, it took me forever to, what was that movie with Oprah Winfrey and Forrest Whitaker?
The Butler?
Mm-hmm.
I just saw that this year, and it's so necessary to see what people have gone through in order to understand where we're still going through that, and we still got to figure out how we're going to find a solution to protect ourselves with laws. It's important that we get out there and we campaign. We got to get out there and get people in office that really do care about our interests, because if you really think about it, a lot of the things that I think protect some of these police officers are the laws and how laws are set up. Even when you talk about profiling, that was a law to protect cops to do as they were doing. They're doing it in New York. So I think we got to look at the political stance of it, and we got to be realistic. And until we see progress in America, we're just going to have to figure out the fight. MLK's dream is still, I don't think it's still lived fully out the way it should be. You know what I'm saying?
But so is it something that, can we fix it though? I mean, it's a change needs to happen, but I don't know if it's something that we by ourselves can do. It probably won't be
in our lifetime, but the reality of it is we have to not only protest, but figure out what are we doing with our laws. You know what I'm saying? Figure out how can we get things like this on the ballot to protect us. Even if you look at how Florida was set up, it was a law that protected, individuals to shoot before they even think twice. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those situations. If they hire a racist cop and they don't know that this man is racist, it doesn't.
But what about when they do? I mean, come on, the guy that shot the 12-year-old boy in Ohio.
I'm just saying. I mean, it's not right.
Like, how could you not? First of all, how do you hire a cop and not do a background check?
But the reality of it is,
you can't work a target without a background check. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but I also feel like in that same token, how many black people are signing up to be on the police force?
Yeah, I think a big issue with young people and wanting to buck the system isn't that they want to buck it, because I think we all know that the system is broken. Not so much broken as it was never really made to represent us.
Right.
Anybody outside of that upper class white male person, it's not made to help them. So, but if you want to change the system, you can't change it from outside beating on the walls of it. You have to
can't.
do
Right.
you have to do what you have to do in order to get inside of it and then change it. The thing is, you also have to play the game in order to do that. And I hate that cliche, play the game, because it's not so much playing the game. It's that you have to be as close to what they want from you as a person of color in order to get inside. And then once you're inside, you still also then have to work hard. And yes, you have to work twice as hard. Yes, you have to be flawless. Yes, your work has to be better than the person who's over you, even though you don't get credit for it or whatever. Yeah, you have to do those things. You have to pay that black tax, but that's what you have to do if you want to change the system. If you don't want to change it, that's fine, but you also don't get to talk about how it's jacked up and how you're not going to do anything to change it.
Right. And that's why I think it's important that people have an understanding of your laws. That's why I'm an advocate for people who go out and vote. One thing my daddy taught me was, if you don't vote, you can't complain. And I think sometimes what you got to be realistic on, some of these laws are set up and people don't take into consideration of what, if you don't get out and vote, they're going to vote what they want in. You know what I'm saying? If you don't get out there and protest the laws and get down to the solution versus just getting out there with a sign being mad, I'm just saying, the cases that we're seeing on television, they are a few cases. There is a hell of a lot more of this going on out there that we're just not seeing. Mm-hmm. And so it's a bigger picture of what are you doing even for myself. I get out there and I vote and I kind of read on the laws and kind of have an understanding of what my rights are. I look at what people have gone through in my grandmother's generation and before that, and I can appreciate, my life as a minority here in America, but I can also have a better understanding of how I handle things out in public. Especially when it comes to when you're being pulled over and this, that, and the third. So, and then also, I'm not going to sign up for the police force. I'm not going to do that. But, I mean, the reality of it is, and I love Killer Mike for this, but he's just basically saying, we cannot live this life with no snitch, or we can't live this life to look at the police at a certain way. You got to get in that system and have an understanding. And I'll tell you, sometimes a lot of things with people who are racist or just have a fear of people of color, it's because they've not been exposed properly. They've always been, in their own little box, and they just go by hearsay. But until you are actually exposed to someone, you don't have a true full understanding. And I think that's the biggest problem is when those police officers go out there, they're risking their lives. You know what I'm saying? And some of them are thinking the worst when they go into some of these bad neighborhoods. And the first thing they do is pull trigger because they don't care about our lives. Because they don't have that connection.
Yeah, I don't think it's so much that they don't care. I think they're so afraid because of lack of exposure that's just the first thing they hop on top of. I don't want to say that in America we don't believe that life, no matter the color of the person, isn't worth it. I just feel like people put so much more weight on their prejudices or their beliefs of how a person acts, going back to media representation of a race, that instead of saying, hey, I'm going to wait and base my opinion on my actual interaction, they just base it on something that they believe their whole life. And honestly, black people, brown people, Asian people, old Asian men are some of the most racist people I know.
Yes.
We all do it. The only difference is in America, it's not just that we are the minority, it's that we are one of the most powerless people in America because we don't control our communities financially, we don't control our image in the media, and when we do get that opportunity, we always know snitches get stitches. And I'm like, I don't understand this whole idea that you can't tell, or even not so much tell, but the idea that you would hold somebody accountable to their community, that we can't do that. Right. What are you kidding? You live in our community. Your actions affect the entire community. What do you mean I can't hold you accountable? I live here too. Mm-hmm. I should, me above anybody else should be able to do that. Right. I mean, and that's something I get from my aunt, who for a long time was on the streets talking to those dudes who were on the corner selling stuff, and she was like, you're out here, you're doing what you're doing, and it's hurting the community, and you act like that you're not responsible to the people who live here. Right. And you are. And my aunt did go to prison for a while for doing some shady stuff. But when she when she was out there doing those things, she was also affecting community positively. Like the people who couldn't pay their rent, or the people who needed coats or food or blankets or whatever, she was going and buying it and giving it to them.
But don't you also feel that sometimes, even with our communities, we're so separated that we wouldn't even know how to come together and uplift each other?
Yeah. I mean, the idea of community isn't even, we aren't one anymore. We're so segmented. And
But were we ever one? I
mean, oh, absolutely.
Those churches housed in the 60s, how many, like when I go home to my hometown, there's a handful of people in church. But if I go to the club, oh, girl, they're out there. But the reality of it is, we're so separated. Like, you have the educated, and then you have those who just look upon you and like, oh, you're snobbish because you decided to get an education. So you can't really connect with anyone because we're so separated. Hell, we're separated against dark skin, light skin. You know, so if we're that petty to do that, I think when it comes to financial gain, we're like crab in a barrel sometimes if you really break it down. And I hate to say that, but we don't uplift. Like, all my friends who are minorities, when I go to their household, they're taking care of grandmama. They're taking care of this, that, and the third, and they're doing well for themselves, and they uplift each other. But when I go to my hometown and I see how my family interacts, it's like we separate because grandmama usually taking care of one of our little cousins, and the whole idea is like it's just reverse, and the woman is the one who's doing everything and anything, and it's, I hate to say it, but it's sad. And then you also have to see that when you do well, I've seen more people congratulate somebody coming out of the jail system than somebody who graduated high school and college. And that's just the reality that I have to see, and it breaks my heart. Now, don't get me wrong. For anyone who's fallen on hard times, I feel you should uplift everyone. So if you have done the jail time, you know, I never shun anyone because of that, because at the end of the day, you are the person that I knew, so that never changed. But the reality of it is we look at each other differently within our own community, and that's why we can't really build from the rebels, because we haven't even fixed us yet. And that's just my opinion.
No, I think that's really good, and you do bring up a point that we don't have a community. My dad tells me when he was a boy that this first white doctor he ever saw was when he went away to college, and that he grew up in the black community on the south side of Chicago, and that everybody he interacted with, store owners, laundromats, maids, businessmen, everybody was black. And he says, and I haven't done the research to get the data to back it up, but he says that the black community pretty much died when they started to desegregate schools.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I had this conversation recently. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, he does have a point that after that, we stopped looking at success as owning your own home, having a car, being debt-free, and started looking at it in a way, and for no better reason to voice it as, what do white people have and why don't we have that, and how do we get it? As opposed to, in this community, how do we help build up our community? And not so much, I'm going to take you and put you on my back, so much as, how do I be a good member of the community? Am I involved politically? Do I help those who can't help themselves in that? Do I help them educate themselves? Or if it's like you just need some help right now, okay, well then here's a loan. Here's a loan, as in you're going to pay me back. Right. Here's a loan. I can give you that loan. You don't have to go somewhere else to get it because I know you. But we've lost that. We're very fragmented and segmented and very prejudiced against people for education, for leaving the community, for their skin color, for what they wear. And black people talk worse about black people than anybody.
Don't we though?
Unfortunately.
And I'm just as guilty. Yeah. I'm just as guilty. And
I'm super guilty.
And I think that's where I'm like at a point where when in my family I uplift every little black girl. I tell her she's beautiful. I tell her she's smart. I always encourage my cousins who are doing well. I never say anything negative about them because at the end of the day, if one person tells them, I want them to believe that so that they can go off and be prosperous in life. You know what I'm saying? And it's not being a financial game, but if they are happy and they feel that their level of success is what makes them happy, I want them to feel good about themselves. I don't want them to feel that that they have to go out here and do things that are illegal or go out here for the attention to do something to jeopardize their morals. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of times we're missing that right now, and I see it more than I would want to, especially in young ladies and seeing these young men, you know, they don't even think twice about the consequences of, yes, you got those new Jordans, but Now what?
Right.
You know what I'm
Yeah, or
saying?
why is your only thing you want to do is just get some Jordan?
And rapping is not for everybody.
No, if you cannot turn in your English homework in on time, you need to be a rapper.
Please don't try to give me
But if that's
16
the
bars.
if that's the only image of success you've ever seen, I mean, think about it.
But it's not.
If your
But
only
it's
image
not.
of success is, the housewives or basketball
But
wives,
time out. Let's look at President Obama.
yeah, but okay, for the last 8 years, okay.
But don't you?
But even before that, what about black real estate agents? What about black insurance agents?
Yeah,
Doctors,
I do.
people
I
who
do.
own restaurants.
Let's be honest. There's no excuse. I think a lot of it is they see easy, fast money coming through negative streams, and they don't want to put the work out there. And I blame.
Well, who
I hate to
does?
say it.
I mean, not that I'm advocating criminalism, but who does?
But let's be honest. I come from a household where my parents worked, and that's the only way that I learned that you will receive things is through hard work.
Well, yeah, me too. Absolutely.
But the truth is, even being a professional athlete or being a professional musician, that's hard work. How many people hustled before they actually got a contract to make millions? Professional athletes literally work out for a living and have to learn the game of whatever they're playing, basketball, baseball, football, to know the exact in and outs and the science of it, and then to know how to build their bodies in order to take that punishment and be in that place where they have to be. And what is it, like 1 in 100 people who try to be a professional athlete get to be it as far as college goes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's still hard work. The idea that you don't have to work hard in order to get to where you want to be is a fallacy. You have to work hard. If you're not willing to get up early to do those workouts, to learn that knowledge, if you're not willing to pick up a thesaurus and learn some words that rhyme together, you're not going to be a good rapper, honestly.
Right. But I've heard Kevin Hart say it many times. He said everybody want it, but they don't want to put in the work.
They don't.
And that's just the reality. I mean, that's a sad reality. And I even look at people in, I have to go by what I see. And a lot of people don't want to put in the work, regardless of whatever occupation or whatever they want in the future. It's easier to sell dope than it is to go out and work at McDonald's.
Well, the truth is, it's not even. But even selling dope
can lead you to the greatness,
Yeah, you could own a few, because in fact the McDonald's in my neighborhood, all the McDonald's in my neighborhood are owned by the same guy, and he's black, and it's like 15 of them.
Yeah.
And he started just working at the counter. But even selling dope, that's still not making you the kind of money you think you're making. If you have $2,000 in your pocket and you think you have money, honey, you you super po. That ain't nothing. That ain't nothing. What's $2,000 over a lifetime?
Yeah.
And then because honestly, you're going to get caught because you're not willing to do the work to not get caught. So you're going to get caught. Right. So you're going to be an ex-con. And who wants to hire an ex-con? Very few people want to hire an ex-con. And the kind of job you're going to get, like McDonald's won't even hire you. You're going to work for somebody who has a business that hires ex-cons, which is usually like a janitor business or doing trash. So it's some kind of crap job. Or you might be, if you're really smart and while you're in prison, you do something that really betters yourself, like get a degree or even just learn a lot about a certain business. You still have to hustle to get somebody to hire you. So you're still doing all that work. The only problem is now you already have 3 strikes against you because you're a black male ex-con.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get another opportunity to step up to the plate. You don't. So even hustling, even selling dope or selling whatever, is not really easy money.
True. No, you're right. Not. You guys are both right. Wow. Okay. All right. So a little food for thought, some things to think about. All right. So we are just over an hour. Did you guys want to play the game, or you guys want to cut us off?
Let's play the game because I want to open it up by this tweet I just read by this guy I don't even know on Twitter.
Ooh. Okay.
But he said white guys can play Moses and Jesus and Noah, but Idris Elba can't play James Bond.
Now he said a word.
Exactly.
So why don't you explain the game?
Okay.
Why don't you explain the game?
All right. So I'm calling it Hollywood Fantasy Football, and basically what I did is took 5 movies or television shows and recast all of the actresses with black actresses. Now my little cousin, who's 7 years old, pointed out to me that I didn't do any boys, so. Sorry, boys. We'll get to you next week. And you already know who I want to be James Bond. Anyway, so So basically, I'll start with the 5 that I chose. If I can get my notes up here. Okay. So I started with Friends because they needed some brown people in that show.
Oh, girl, they had her. You should tell her. They should have given her a role sooner and a much better role. But anyway,
the last season.
Yeah, right. The very last season.
Right. Okay.
Anyway, go ahead.
So Friends. Monica, I cast Kerry Washington. Rachel, I cast Gabrielle Union. And for Phoebe, I cast Tracy Ellis Ross.
That's a
I
good
love
one.
it. Yeah, I love it.
Okay, so for Bridget Jones' Diary, for Bridget, I cast Issa Rae. And she's a web star. She stars in the Awkward Black Girl series.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's hilarious. But she does that kind of awkward she is a black Bridget Jones. She does that kind of awkward sort of romantic comedy humor.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she would be a perfect Bridget Jones.
She's also a content producer. She has her own channel where she makes several different things. So not just Awkward Black Girl.
Yeah, she is the bomb. She is seriously, seriously awesome. Okay, so I just saw Into the Woods yesterday.
Oh, I wanted to see that.
It's good. I really liked it a lot. But it didn't stop me from recasting it. So
well, there are no black people in it.
None. Well, correction. There are a few like extras that you.
No, that doesn't count. That doesn't count.
Okay. Okay, so Cinderella, I cast Kerry Washington again. You notice there aren't that many of us, so a couple of people repeat on the list. For The Baker's Wife, I cast Lupita Nyong'o.
Oh, love Lupita. Mm-hmm.
Love her. For The Witch, I cast Angela Bassett. Cause I saw her on American Horror Story, and that woman can play a witch. So
yes.
For Red Riding Hood, I was torn between Quvenzhané Wallis and Willow Smith. Having just come from Annie today, I have to give it to Quvenzhané because that little girl, she is awesome. She rocks. She is so good. For Rapunzel, I cast Beyonce. And for the Giant, I cast Oprah Winfrey.
Oh, wow.
Okay, and so my next one I chose was Gone Girl. And for the lead, Amy, I cast Paula Patton.
Mm. Okay.
And the last one I did was Avengers / Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
And for Black Widow, I cast Zoe Saldana.
Oh, girl, yes. Okay, Sunny, you go. I'm going to run to the facility in my house, and then I'll be back. Okay.
Okay.
So the only show that really would stand out that would make this fun, of course, would be Sex and the City. Now, I know that Girlfriends was pretty much Sex and the City, but I still love Sex and the City more. So, of course, I would lead with Carrie being Tracy Ellis Ross. She would be Joan, but transfer it over. Miranda, I think, would be Gabrielle Union Wade. And Charlotte, Paula Patton or Kerry Washington, just kind of depending how you want to play it.
Okay.
And Samantha, for some odd reason, Angela Bassett sits in my head. Because she gives you life, but she's an older girl, but she still looks good.
I could totally see that. I would watch that show. I would watch that.
Angela gives me sass with a little bit of class, you know.
Right. And she'll cut a bitch. And you know Samantha will cut a bitch. So there you go.
She's fierce for her age. She's absolutely beautiful. So I think for me it would have to be Sex and the City, and Tracy Ellis Ross does so good as being Joan in my head that she would be good with the Carrie character because that's kind of like what she plays anyway.
Yeah, kind of goofy, fashionista.
Right, educated, you know, very messed up with men, you know.
Yeah. A bit of a mess, yeah.
I think for my favorite all-time show, Sex and the City, if it were to be African American girls, we would just switch it around like that.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Did you have any more?
No, I don't like TV like that. So what I like is the shameful things that we discussed earlier. So they already
you know
have
what?
black
Full
cast.
disclosure, I'm not going to pretend that I don't watch my share of Ratchet TV. I totally do, and I hate that word Ratchet, but it's so applicable.
It's
So I'm
fitting.
going to use
It's
it.
appropriate.
So I feel you. No judgment. This is a no judgment zone.
And then Scandal's
Judgment
already
free.
get carried. So, there's no need for me to go any further.
Does she have to be the only black character though?
Well, I think if there's another black woman, it wouldn't do it for me. There's no one else I could think that would just stand out. And I think that her little love triangle, most people hate it, but I love it. But
well, there's a whole host of issues to unpack there, so yeah, we'll definitely cover that in the show. There's a whole host of issues there. All right, Miss Sydney, what you got?
Okay, being a lover of sci-fi and sci-fi movies, I was kind of, and watching Doctor Who, I was kind of upset they got rid of, what's her name on there, who plays Martha Jones.
Okay.
So, loving her character and that particular actress, and there's not a whole lot of TV that I watch. A lot of it has gone off the air, and I've been angry, so I haven't picked up anything new. I would love to see, I cannot think of her name, the lady who plays Martha Jones. I would love to see her in, oh my gosh, I just lost the show. It just flew out of my brain. Just flew totally out of my brain. I had gender bent some roles too. It was like white male, so I changed it with black females.
Okay.
And I can't think of the movie. I can't think of the movie. But let's go with let's go with a couple of my favorite movies. Princess Bride.
Okay.
I would love to change Robin White Penn. I'm going to change her with Lupita.
I can see that. I could totally see
change
that.
her with Lupita. Let's go with Fifth Element. That's what it was. Corbin Dallas. I'd make that character the lady who plays Martha Jones.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I cannot remember her name. But then you would have to not that you couldn't keep Lilu as the Fifth Element, which you could. And I don't mind making that like a romantic role. I have nothing wrong with like having LGBTQ law. You know what I'm trying to say? The initials I'm trying to say. But I also feel like that would distract too much from the story. And that if you take the character from being a white male to a black female, you would have to then change the Fifth Element, like either their relationship as romantic, or make that that particular character male. I would really like to see Chris Pine as Lilu.
I would like to see Chris Pine as anything.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I'd like to see him as anything. So there's that. There's those two. So if I just want to go to dramas, one of my favorites growing up was Saved by the Bell.
Okay.
Poor Dustin Diamond. He needs some help in his life. But if I were to replace Zach and Kelly, I would honestly go with that black kid from Blackish.
Yes. Oh
because the oldest brother, he plays a huge nerd on that show. But I think if you age him a couple years and put a little bulk on him,
Drake look.
Yeah, he'd be great. He'd be great.
I could see that.
Yeah, he would have that Drake look. Yeah, he would have that Drake look.
Drake-ish.
And then change the principal to Jason Momoa.
No, make it Samuel Jackson. No, it's like.
Okay, Saved by the Bell, MF.
No, I feel like Samuel would be a hilarious principal. I feel like there'd be a lot of shouting, and you know what? Make Samuel L. his dad. Make Samuel L. his dad.
Yes.
And then the principal is Jason Momoa.
Yes.
Yeah. Where was I? How many shows is that?
That was 3.
That was 3. Okay.
But Miss Sunny only did one, so you know.
Oh, okay.
We need
not
more
that
girls from you next
creative.
week.
I didn't. I didn't write these down, which is stupid. I should have written them down, but I didn't. I recently made my students watch Carmen Jones and the fantastic, wonderful Dorothy Dandridge.
Mm-hmm.
Just love her. I say put her in anything. Put her in Scandal. Put her in How to Get Away with Murder. Put her in Grey's Anatomy. Just let's bring her back and put her in everything. She would be amazing.
Love it. Oh my God, her in Scandal?
Girl, she
oh my God.
Kill it. And then I'm actually going to turn around and just pick a random movie off my shelf.
Okay.
Random movie. First movie. Hold on, wait. It has to be one I've actually... Porn. No, it has to be one I've actually seen. Right, yes, porn.
I was totally joking.
Oh, okay. 12 Angry Men, the original black and white version. If I was going to change the main person who plays the juror, which was, in that one, it was Henry Fonda. Oprah Winfrey.
Love it.
I changed it to Oprah.
I love it. That sounds good. I would definitely go and see that.
Actually, now I'm kind of mad that's not a thing.
That would be good. I would really go and see that. So awesome.
Yeah.
Right, Harpo. Let's get this going. Let's get it going.
Let's start a Kickstarter.
Oprah to play juror number 8 in 12 Angry Men.
Yeah. We need to get Harpo Studios involved.
Awesome. Well, cool. Well, this has been a fun episode. I am so happy to be working with you two very intelligent and brilliant young ladies, and looking forward to more podcasts in the future, seeing us here same time next week. Hopefully I will get it together and not have any more technical difficulties. Sorry about that, and we can get started on time. And I'm really happy to be working with you guys. I want to wish you a healthy, happy, bounteous new year in 2015.
Same to you.
I'm excited to be embarking on this journey with you guys.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes.
Awesome. Well, I guess I will see you guys back here next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. 3 bat girls. Until then, be safe and many blessings.
Good night.
Good night. Bye.